Hey, hey, hey! My name's Helianthus Cryptid, or Nephilim if you'd prefer. Welcome to my cozy corner of the internet. This is the 6th chapter of Daichi Sawamura's Guide to Barely Surviving College Sophomore Year Edition, written by Dark Rain 2610 on AO3. After the last chapter, I'm intrigued to see what happens next. This fanfiction includes topics that may be triggering to some viewers if you are likely to be affected by any of the following: implied sexual content, drinking, homophobia, and internalized homophobia, then please consider listening to another one of my videos, such as the Adro series, which is written by XX Cypress Minerva XX. Now I implore you to sit back and relax whilst I read to you. Chapter 6. Bokuto's Perspective. Homecoming season. Bokuto always liked how busy it got around campus during it. People planning events, the football game coming closer, everything just seemed to be more alive during this week. What wasn't alive, however, was Bokuto's phone! Not that it was out of battery, but Suki hadn't called him in 2 days, and the texts have been scarce and far between. It's not his fault or mine, we're just busy. Suki was trying to graduate early because, quote, if I have to stay in this goddamn building any longer than I have to, I will kill myself. And Bokuto was training hard for the oncoming season. We have made it through rougher patches, we'll be fine. Bokuto sat down on a bench to tie his shoes as Daichi and Iwaizumi walked into the locker room, the latter looking very stressed. Which wasn't saying much, since Iwa seemed to always look stressed these days. Whether about school, or the 2 guys he wasn't even dating. Bokuto always found his football friend a bit worse for wear. Maybe I should make him some soup, or buy some, because I don't know how to make soup. I don't even know how to walk in heels, though. Except that wasn't usually a reason. Bokuto looked up from his shoes to see a visibly stressed Iwa and Daichi who was trying to hide his laughter. I feel like I missed a few chapters. Why are you worried about shoes? Bokuto asked as he stretched out on the bench. Daichi let his laugh out while slapping a glaring Iwaizumi on the back. Well, Mr. Quarterback here is now also running for Karasuno's very own homecoming queen. Bokuto blinked once, then twice as he tried to put together the words in that sentence. Finally, a grin spread across his face as he looked back and forth between the other men in the locker room. Suga got him! Or was it Oikawa? Iwaizumi groaned as he plopped down next to Bokuto to put his head in his hands. Both, he mumbled, quiet enough that Bokuto had to strain himself to hear him. He seemed ready to drop the subject, but Daichi didn't, as he leaned in. What was that, Iwa? Both men somehow tricked you into competing in a beauty pageant. How on earth did they do that? Bokuto couldn't help but snicker as Daichi's tone came out all-knowing. Iwa just sighed again. Oikawa mentioned something about his audition coming up today, so he couldn't be there for the first rehearsal. Suga mentioned how stressed he was about some event, so I volunteered to help them both with it. Iwa ran his fingers through his hair as he let out a slow breath. But I didn't expect them to collaborate with what I was helping with. Suga was apparently stressed out about how little contestants there were, and Oikawa was worried about Suga having to deal with all those drama queens alone. Bokuto put a hand up to stop him. He didn't need to hear the whole sob story. What you're saying is, they played you like a fiddle! No, they played me like the cheap kazoo I am, Iwa said with finality, standing up to throw open his locker. He's been hanging out with Oikawa because he's so dramatic right now. And now, Iwa continued as he peeled off his shirt, I have to leave practice early so I can learn an opening number dance, figure out a talent to do on stage in front of hundreds of people, and learn to walk in high heels because there's no way in hell I'm gonna be the shortest contestant there. Daichi looked red with how long he was trying to hold back his laughter as Bokuto stared at Iwaizumi with shock.
This was what unrequited love will do to a person. Huh. Iwa glanced up at Daichi before shaking his head. You can laugh. I would if I wasn't me. Oh, thank God, Daichi said, almost breathlessly as he let out a loud laugh. I heard Suga and Oikawa talking about it for a week. Iwaizumi shot him a glare as Daichi held up his hands. Don't be like that. I'm pretty sure it's in the rules that roommates and best friends come before football buddies. If it's not in the guide, I don't believe it. Daichi snorted as he sat down to tie his own shoes. I'll write it in when I get home then. But seriously, you shouldn't worry. It's not like they need you to try and win the pageant. They just need another contestant. Iwa nodded. Suddenly, Bokuto's phone buzzed as the three of them stood up to go out to the field. You guys go on ahead. I'll catch up. Iwa nodded, leaving quickly as Daichi shook his head before heading out. Don't be late or coach will have your ass, he called out as Bokuto heard the door swing shut. Pulling out his phone quickly, Bokuto was surprised to find 3 texts from the past 5 minutes. From Oikawa, the favourite roomie. Hey, did you steal my character shoes? I can't find them anywhere. From Kuro, the actual favourite roomie. Oikawa just stormed into our room demanding that I give him back his character shoes? What are those? Do you and Oikawa share foot sizes? If so, how did I not notice? He has tiny ass feet. From Suki. Hey love, is it okay if we call tomorrow instead of tonight? I really should cram for the test a bit more. Bokuto felt his heart sink as he read that 3rd text again. Damn it. Now is not the time to feel sad. Shaking his head, Bokuto quickly responded to them. To Kuro, the actual favourite roomie. Me and Oikawa don't have the same foot size. What the fuck? But I'll text him. Don't worry, bro. To Oikawa, the favourite roomie. Kawa, I think your shoes are still under the couch from that time you kicked them off and it bounced off the TV stand. Also, stop telling people I have the same size foot as you. It's none of their business. To Suki. It's totally fine, Suki. Just let me know when you can. I love you. Bokuto let out a sigh as he looked around the empty locker room. I really should get my ass moving. From Oikawa, the favourite roomie. Oops, thanks, Bo. My bad for accusing you of theft. And don't be self-conscious of your baby feet. But your secret's safe with me. Lol. From Oikawa, the favourite roomie. And Kuro. From Oikawa, the favourite roomie. And Suga, but that's a given because I tell him everything. Lol, sorry. Bokuto shook his head while smiling as he put away his phone. Everything was going to be just fine. Bokuto would keep telling himself that, even if the red at 323 staring back at him was telling his gut otherwise. Iwaizumi's perspective. What am I doing? Iwa thought as he looked at the theatre with mild discomfort, his running shoes in one hand and a pair of heels in the other. Am I that far deep that I'm going to a pageant for the 2 guys I like? The root of the problem, Iwa supposed, was that he couldn't say no to Suga. He just looked so tired when he was laying on the couch, and Oikawa had mentioned to him how hard they both were working, and the pageant was just another thing for them, and how nice it would be to just get one more contestant. And so Iwa was thinking about that when Suga brought it back up and didn't even ask him, but looked at Iwaizumi with his big brown eyes and... Anyways, but this had to be a new low in simp history. Pulling out his phone to check if he got the right theatre, because apparently this campus had 3. Thanks, Oikawa. Iwa felt someone nudge him. You ready to go, Mr. Quarterback? Suga smiled up at him as Iwaizumi silently nodded. Oh, come on, Iwa. It's not that bad. You don't even have to actually compete.
Of course.
Suga frowned at that answer, but grabbed Wiseme's hand to pull him up the steps. Oh, we're holding hands right now, and Suga is still talking to you, and you're not going to remember any of it because you're being a useless gay right now and only focusing on how warm and right Suga's hand feels in yours. Suga pushed open the theatre doors, scrambling up the steps of the stage as Iwa looked for a seat in the front. Finding one, Wiseme sat next to a short brown-haired girl who looked about 5 seconds from bolting out the door.
You okay?
Iwa asked silently as Suga searched for a mic. This is my first pageant. Iwa nodded. Suga threw a smile his way.
Yeah, me too.
You're doing the... The girl was cut off as a screeching from the mic surrounded them. Sorry, Suga said quickly, flashing a winning smile to the group. I'm sorry Oikawa couldn't be here today. Lord knows he has much more experience in this kind of stuff than I do, but the student council would like to welcome the candidates for the homecoming queen pageant. The group of girls around Iwa cheered as it was made abundantly clear that he was the only other male in the room. Suga looked over his notes, taking a deep breath as Iwa gave him a thumbs up. Smiling a bit more genuine, Suga looked back at the group. We're so glad to have you guys competing. I'm just gonna get things rolling. I'll pull your name from this bowl and then you can come up and pull your number for the order you'll be competing from the other bowl. Then you can grab your packet and sit back down. Tracy, the choreographer, will be here in about 30 minutes to teach everyone the opening number. A murmur went through the crowd as Suga reached his hand in. Rebecca? The girl next to Wiseme stiffened. Is there a Rebecca here?
Is that you?
Iwa said quietly, making the girl jump. Yeah, but I don't know if I can do it. Rebecca looked stressed, a few seconds away from crying as Suga called the name again. I really shouldn't have tried. I don't know what I was thinking. Hey, Iwa found himself saying quickly, voice still quiet but feeling a bit urgent as Suga did one last call.
You want to do this right?
Rebecca nodded, eyes still a bit watery as Iwa searched for the right words.
You have nothing to be afraid of. Besides, you can't be the worst one on the stage. I'm competing too.
The girl cracked a smile as Iwa felt his mouth lift into one as well. I guess I should expect some people to drop, Suga said as he sat the paper back down. Rebecca looked startled as Wiseme stood up.
Sorry, she's right here.
Iwa motioned for Rebecca to stand as the girl looked around the room embarrassed.
I was talking to her. She's going now.
Rebecca gave him a small smile as she went up. Suga looked over her as she pulled her number, mouthing thank you. Iwa just gave a smile back.
Fuck, I'm so gay.
I don't know why she's even competing. She doesn't look like she has a talented bone in her body.
Iwa felt his face twitch as he watched Rebecca talk to Suga, shoulders relaxing as Suga laughed. Wiseme leaned back a bit to continue listening.
Plus, she's totally the wrong shape to be doing pageants. Look at her. She's at least 20 pounds overweight.
Iwa's head ripped around to stare at the two girls behind him. The blonde one, the one talking, looked mildly annoyed at the attention, while the other had the decency to look embarrassed. What's your problem? Iwa whispered out as Suga called another girl's name. Why should it matter to you guys? The blonde just rose an eyebrow as the other stood up. Seems like Suga called her name.
Calm down, football freak,
the blonde said, flipping her hair over her shoulder.
I was just stating facts. Sorry if that made you feel offended for your little girlfriend.
Wiseme could feel his mouth close, then open, then close again, as the blonde watched with mild interest. I'm not dating. Not that she would be bad. Iwa took a deep breath as the girl just smiled wider. I'm very gay.
Maria? Too bad. I'd be all over that. The blonde smiled, a fake one this time, as she stood up. That's me, so excited to be here with you guys.
Iwa felt his blood start to boil as Maria walked over to Suga, shaking his hand before reaching into the bowl.
Number 1, I love it.
Suga's smile seemed forced as Maria whispered something to him, both of them looking at Iwa before returning to each other. After a few more seconds, Maria made her way back over to the chairs.
Okay, just a few more.
Suga looked a bit more stressed than before, reaching into the bowl.
Ah, a Waizumi?
Iwa stood up, passing Maria, who looked wide-eyed and shell-shocked as he made his way up the stairs. Taking a paper, Suga smiled as Iwa looked down at the number 4 in his hands.
I'm really glad you're competing,
Suga said as he held out his hand, something he had been doing for all the girls. Iwa grabbed his hand, holding it tightly as he lowered his voice.
What did that blonde bitch say to you?
Suga looked surprised by Iwa's tone, only to shake his head before giving Iwaizumi a tense smile.
Don't worry about it. Nothing I haven't dealt with before. Thank you for your concern, Iwa.
Suga tilted his head towards the stairs as Iwa felt his hand tighten.
Fine, but we're talking about it later.
Iwa was surprised at his own words. Same with Suga, who gave him a small smile.
Deal.
Iwa made his way back to his seat, Suga calling out the next name as he felt everyone else's eyes on him. Sitting next to Rebecca, the brown-haired girl shyly smiled as Iwa gave her a nod.
Sugawara, are you telling us that there are boys competing in this pageant?
The voice was shrill, making Iwa's ears hurt as he turned to look at Maria. That has to be against the rules. Suga smiled softly as the last girl moved towards the seats.
There are no rules against a male joining a pageant. I looked into it as soon as I saw Iwaizumi's application.
Iwa held back a snort. Sure! Like you didn't look it up way before you convinced me to do this.
All the rules state is that the person be unmarried and willing to commit to the duties of the royalty court. As long as Iwaizumi is willing to do that, there's nothing against him competing.
Maria shot daggers at Suga before turning towards Iwaizumi. And you just happen to want to compete? The words were filled with such venom as Iwa felt his mouth twitch. Why would you care? Iwa asked as Rebecca looked mildly amused. Scared you'll lose? Maria let out a gasp, seeming very dramatic for Iwa, as she looked around the room. No, Iwaizumi, I'm not afraid to lose. Her voice was higher pitched than Iwa recognized. I don't think it should be allowed. It doesn't matter though. I'll win against all of you ugly bitches. Suga looked surprised as Maria sat down with a huff. Suga opened his mouth, probably to tell her off, when a middle-aged woman came barreling in. Iwa guessed it was Tracy as the woman started to yell out directions immediately, making the girls and him get on stage to start stretching out. Once again, Suga found Iwa in a corner.
Regretting helping me out yet?
Suga asked quietly, pushing on Iwaizumi's shoulder to make him stretch farther.
I regret this already. Oikawa is much better with this stuff.
Iwa pretended like the name drop didn't make his heart hurt, or that Suga's hand pressing on him didn't burn in a good way. Instead, Iwa shot Suga a toothy grin. Oh no, I don't regret helping you. I regret not punching Maria in the face yet. But I can wait till after I win the pageant. Suga looked confused as Iwa's grin grew wider.
Iwa, you don't have to actually compete.
Iwa just waved a hand as he switched sides. I know. Suga nodded slowly. I don't know what she said to you, but she said some shitty things about me and about Rebecca, and I'm sure as hell not letting her win now. Suga let out a small laugh as he patted Iwa's shoulder.
And how do you plan on doing that? She looks like a professional.
Iwa's grin only grew as he stood up straight. Oh, I know. but you and I both know one person that could beat that girl in any performance she tried. Suga's face broke into a smile as the two of them had the same thought.
Oikawa.
Oikawa.
13 seconds. 13 seconds. A misplaced shoulder, a hard hit, and Daichi might be out of the season. Looking at the blue sky above him, Daichi had a single thought as a cloud entered his vision.
Fuck. Shit, Daichi, are you okay? Can you stand up? Bokuto's panicked voice filled Daichi's ears as he grimaced at the sound. Not really the voice I want to hear right now. A hand reached out to him, and, with his help, Daichi found his footing. Damn, that was a hard hit. Bokuto unhelpfully tacked on, like Daichi himself didn't know that. He did. He was the one who got the blunt force of it. Daichi tried to shake out his shoulders, but a sharp pain to the right one made it clear that he needed to be checked out. This is gonna suck. Daichi considered just letting it be, but one glance at Bokuto made it clear that he was going to the coach. Yeah, I know, he said, pushing Bokuto's worried face away from his. I'm gonna go talk to him right now. Daichi walked up to his coach, not failing to notice that Bokuto was trailing right behind him, like a dog with his tail between his legs. It's not his fault. I was the one who didn't stretch out enough. Daichi, what can I do for you? Bokuto? The coach glanced up from his clipboard before looking back down. Well... The coach didn't look up, but put a hand up to stop Daichi already. If this is about what just happened on the field, don't bother, I saw what I needed to. Just give me the damage. My right shoulder. Daichi sucked in a breath of air as the coach finally looked up to meet his eye with a raised eyebrow. Well, sports medicine major, what's the consensus? Bokuto stifled a laugh as the coach glanced over to him. I wouldn't be laughing, Bokuto. If word got out that you're taking out other players, even your own teammates, you won't be scouted. Bokuto straightened up quickly. Daichi let out the breath as he thought about his options. I could lie, I could say it should be fine for practice tomorrow. The thing was, Daichi wasn't on a scholarship for football. He just tried out for fun after playing in high school, and was pleasantly surprised when he made the team. He worked fucking hard too! He worked 2 jobs, he stayed on top of schoolwork, and on top of all that, he still played. This isn't fair. Looking back up at the coach, Daichi had to look back down at the man's intense gaze. Well, Daichi, will I have you for the homecoming game, or not? If you give me the rest of the week off, I'll be back for Friday and the game. Daichi was surprised that his voice didn't wobble as he finally met the coach's look. The 2 men looked at each other before the coach gave him a nod before looking back at his clipboard. Deal. I need you as a starter. Daichi's eyes widened as he lost focus at what the coach was saying. Starter? I've never started in a game. Thrown in for sure, but a starter? Have someone like that, Daichi? Daichi blinked twice as the coach groaned. Come on, Sawamura. Work with me here. Do you have someone that can help you out with these next 3 days and report to me if you screw up your shoulder more? Like a roommate or something? Daichi quickly ruled out Bokuto, on the fact that the guy would be at AT practice. Oikawa and Suga would be doing things for homecoming all week. He really didn't have anyone. Bokuto and Daichi must have reached the same conclusion at the same time because the taller male snorted before nodding, while Daichi let out a groan. Yeah, Daichi has someone. In fact, I'm sure Kuro will have a fantastic time helping you, Dai. Bokuto chuckled as the coach looked between them like he was missing something. Kuro, is that a roommate? Daichi nodded slowly, trying to think of any other person who could help him. Why does the world hate me? It wasn't like Daichi and Kuro were fighting anymore. It was just awkward. It would be a very awkward 3 days if Kuro had to look after Daichi after everything. Daichi opened his mouth to try and convince the coach to let him take care of himself, but found the man already looking at his phone. Okay, Sawamura, here's the deal. You get this Kuro guy to help you these next 3 days, and if you come back with a clean bill of health from you and him, I'll let you play. No doing any extra shit, do you hear me? Daichi gulped as the coach stared at him. Loud and clear, coach, loud and clear. The older man nodded, seemingly content with the answer, hitting Bokuto hard on the back as he walked past him. Good! Can't have 2 of my players out of the game. Getting hurt is one thing, but a pageant? Kids these days. The coach mumbled off as he left Bokuto and Daichi to stare at each other. At least I didn't have to explain why I have to skip half of practice like a Waizumi did. Don't worry too much about it, Bokuto, Daichi said as the other opened his mouth. If you hit us hard in a real game, there's no way we won't kick Shiro Torazawa's ass on Saturday. Bokuto nodded as he walked with Daichi to the locker room. Now how am I gonna ask Kuro? Daichi asked under his breath. Oh, don't worry about that, bro, Bokuto said as casually as he could. I already texted him, he's on his way. Daichi could feel his eye twitch at the thought of driving with Kuro. I could have walked. It's not that far. Bokuto shrugged as he filled up Daichi's water bottle, handing him his bag carefully. I know, but Kuro said he had other stuff to do today. Plus, he mentioned how much you used to love driving with him. Bokuto grinned at him, knowingly, as he handed him his bottle while Daichi glared. I'll catch you at home. Daichi watched the door as Bokuto left, swinging back and forth as he sat down on the bench. What a fucking liar! Driving with Kuro wasn't one of Daichi's favourite things to do, even when being in a relationship. Not that he was a bad driver, no, he followed the speed limit to the exact point every time, but that wasn't why Daichi was frustrated this time. Daichi was frustrated because he was stuck in the passenger seat as Kuro ran into Terashima's apartment for his sweater he had left last time the 2 of them hung out. What a joke. It had been 10 minutes. Way more time than necessary to grab a jacket. Maybe Daichi could go knock, but wouldn't that be weird if they're doing something? After the 15-minute mark, Daichi finally opened the car door when Teru's door swung open, him and Kuro walking out to the car together. Daichi tried not to notice the hickeys on Kuro's neck the day after everyone hung out. When that didn't work, Daichi tried to feel happy for his friend. When that didn't work, Daichi convinced himself that Kuro got in a really bad fight with some mosquitoes that made his neck look like a war zone. Oddly enough, that one helped a little. But now Terashima was walking behind him like a lost dog with puppy eyes, and Daichi couldn't believe the mosquito story anymore. Not with how Terashima was looking at Kuro. Hey Daichi, I heard about your shoulder. I'm sorry about that, man. Terashima looked sympathetic as Kuro slid into the driver's side. That's the other thing. Daichi really couldn't blame Terashima for getting the hots for Kuro. Daichi did the same thing last year, except with more fumbling and dancing around each other's feelings. Thanks, man. It should feel better in a few days, Daichi said with a smile, trying to push back any negative feelings he had for the guy. Kuro should be able to help you with stuff. He seems really good at that stuff. Kuro laughed as he nudged Daichi, who had half the mind to tell Teru about the time Kuro got sick last year. He had been the biggest baby that whole week, not doing anything for himself and making Daichi miss his classes too. Not that Daichi had complained at the time. Instead, Daichi just nodded as Kuro started up the Ford. Thanks again, Teru. I'll text you, Kuro said, rolling up his window, pulling away from the curb. Kuro turned up the radio as Daichi let his eyes close. It's fine that him and Terashima are messing around. In fact, it's a good thing for both of you. He's moving on, you've moved on, everything's falling into place. Daichi counted his breaths as Taylor Swift played. Through the shitty speakers. It's all good! After 3 days, everything will be back to normal. Teru's a nice guy. Kuro's voice cut through Daichi's calming thoughts, making his blood pressure spike. Oh, I'm sure you think so, after getting down, and Daichi nodded without opening his eyes instead of voicing his real thoughts. I'm sure. Daichi gritted out instead. Kuro's head whipped toward him with concern in his eyes, adding insult to injury, no pun intended! Am I driving too fast? Do I need to slow down over bumps? You should have let me take you to the doctors like I said we should. Kuro! I'm fine. I just twisted funny. It's just sore. Daichi interrupted, making Kuro quickly shut his mouth closed. An awkward quiet filled the car, the only sounds being the transmission and the English singer belting. Read the fucking room, Adele! Kuro fiddled with the air controls as Daichi took another deep breath. Kuro, is something bothering you? Other than having to babysit your ex-boyfriend? Kuro glanced over before refocusing on the road. I'm fine. Why'd you ask? Because you only mess with the air in your car if something's bugging you. Otherwise, you just keep it the same temperature. Daichi watched as Kuro's hands tensed around the knob before returning to the wheel, making a short stop at his jeans to wipe off any sweat. Of course you would remember that, Kuro said so quietly that Daichi had to strain to hear. I don't want Terashima to think I'm in this for a relationship, you know? I thought I made it clear that I was just looking for a hookup. And I thought that's what he wanted too, but now I'm worried. Daichi felt a weight lift off his shoulders, his mood lightening for no reason when he heard Kuro talk about Teru. Maybe even happier. Wait, happier? That can't be right. But Daichi couldn't help but feel relieved as Kuro kept on talking about the situation. It's probably because I don't think they're right for each other. Yeah, Kuro would do better with someone grounded. I'm just looking out for a friend. Yeah. But I'll probably just text him about the whole friends with benefits thing again. Make sure we're on the same page. Kuro sent a tense smile towards Daichi as he pulled into the student parking next to the apartments. What do you think? Give me some friendly advice. Daichi felt his heart wince at the wording as Kuro looked at him expectantly. That's probably a good idea, Daichi said lamely as he tried desperately to recall any part of the conversation. Kuro laughed as he hopped out of the car. It's fine. You were never the friends with benefits kind of guy anyway. I get it. Kuro had opened Daichi's side of the car, making sure he didn't twist any more than he had to. I'll grab the keys. You head on up. Daichi nodded as he felt the day catch up to him, or maybe it was just his confusing emotions. Reaching the top of the stairs, Daichi watched Kuro start to climb with a smile on his face as he read a text message. Man, jealousy really is a bitch.
Oikawa's perspective. 5, 6, 7, 8, turn 3 times, left foot out and stop. Oikawa watched as the group in front of him repeated the dance, a few stumbling over their feet, but most getting the pattern quickly. The singing portion was out of the way, along with the monologues. So Oikawa was feeling pretty good. Group 2 on deck. Oikawa quickly got into formation, cursing himself for getting back row, as another actor glanced back at him with an annoying grin on his face. You're Oikawa Toru, right? Oikawa wasn't ready for the question, but quickly placed on a calm smile. Yes, that's me. You are... Oikawa tried to sound friendly, even if his mind was racing with the dance combination and nerves that come with every audition. The boy smiled even wider as Oikawa felt a bit uncomfortable. I'm the freshman about to beat you out of the lead.
Oikawa's eyes shot open as the blonde turned back to face downstage. Group 2, come out. Okay, if I call your number, go left stage, starting with the girls. Oikawa's focus faded out as he stared at the back of the blondie's head. Who the fuck does he think he is? It's not like Oikawa thought he would get the lead, but gods, if this guy gets it. As if the freshman could sense Oikawa's stare, the fake blonde turned to give him a little wave, nothing short of sarcastic, as Oikawa's fingers curled into fists. He didn't do terrible on the dance, but the comment made from the other male made his motions choppy. And now the boys. Oikawa held his breath. 39, 23, 12, 46. Blonde moved to the left as Oikawa felt his heart in his throat. 13, 43, and 16. Oikawa let out the breath, smiling as he crossed to the left side with the other two boys. Everyone else, thank you for your time. A few grumbles from the crowd as they dispersed, but Oikawa was too busy gloating at the blondie to notice. After the group had left, the director looked up from his notes to give the actors a rare smile. You all have callbacks. Friday, 12 p.m. Don't be late! Girls 13 and 12, stay back. Boys 46 and 16, stay back. The rest of you have a good night and be ready for some more dancing. Please have a monologue prepared for minor characters. Oikawa felt giddy as he stepped forward, not even caring that Blondie had gotten asked to stay as well. Last year, I was in ensemble. This is wild, that I'm even being considered for a lead. The director motioned for the four of them to sit. I want to do some cold readings. Any objections? After a moment's pause, the director continued. Good. You, what's your name? Blondie stood up. Atsumu Miya, ma'am. The director looked startled at the accent before shaking her head. All right, here's the script. You? Oikawa looked up from where he was picking at his tank top.
Oikawa Toru.
The director handed his script to him before looking back at his clipboard. Scene 2, paragraph 7. Oikawa takes Seymour, Atsumu, the dentist. We'll go from there. Oikawa smiled even wider before taking a breath, relishing in the twitch Atsumu's face made. And action! Oikawa walked out of the auditorium with his character shoes in one hand, the script in the other. Talk about the best day ever! Of course, the lead wasn't guaranteed. Oikawa knew, but it was nice to know he had a shot at it. Maybe even more than a shot, since the director seemed to like his cold reading too. A quick buzz shook Oikawa out of his thoughts as he pulled out his phone, quickly scanning the text before turning back around. From Sugar Bear. Please change this, Oikawa.
Hey, me and Iwa are still in the auditorium if you want to join. We can have some fun teasing Iwa again. Plus, I want to hear about your audition.
Oikawa tried to pretend it wasn't a fond feeling in his chest as he pushed open the second theatre's doors, smiling as he heard Iwa groan out, and then a pause as the music stopped. Walking down the aisle of the theatre, Oikawa tried to be as quiet as he could to make out Suga and Iwaizami's talking. I know, it's a two-step, then turn, but why the fuck do we have to do it in high heels? Oikawa stifled a laugh as Suga let out his own.
Iwa, you don't have to wear high heels. No one's making you.
Iwa groaned again as he plopped down on stage, playing with the straps of his heels. There is no way in hell I'm gonna be the shortest contestant here, Sugawara. Did you see, Mace? That girl was 5'9" anyway. Suga laughed again as Oikawa let out a snort, climbing the stairs to meet his friends.
Sounds like you had an eventful day.
Suga let out a sigh, making his way over to the other boy before wrapping his arms around Oikawa. Oikawa let out a startled noise before leaning in, remembering how the two of them were sort of dating, but not really. You'll never believe. Suga said softly before planting a small kiss on Oikawa's lips.
But enough about us. How was auditions?
Oikawa knew he should feel more worried about how natural this whole fake dating thing was, but instead held up his script for the two of them to see.
I got a call back for the lead.
Oikawa tried to sound as casual as he could, but anyone could see how actually excited he was as Suga latched back onto him.
That's great, babe!
Suga exclaimed as he pressed his lips to Oikawa's cheek. Oikawa felt his hand freeze as he looked over at Awaizumi, who oddly enough looked just as happy for him as Suga. Iwa took a step towards the fake couple, Suga still hanging off of Oikawa like a spider monkey, before offering a grin of his own. Good work, Shirikawa. I knew you would get it, though. Oikawa felt his own cheeks heat up at the genuine comment.
Thanks, Iwa,
he said softly, giving Iwa a small, shy smile as Suga watched with amusement. Oikawa cleared his throat before looking around the empty theatre.
Well, you two going to explain why you're here alone after hours? You weren't trying to pull moves on my boyfriend, right, Iwa-chan?
Iwa stuttered for a second before his face pulled into an actual scowl, making Oikawa and Suga let out a laugh.
No, Toru,
Suga said, sighing, making Oikawa flush harder at the use of his first name.
If anything, I was making moves on Awaizumi.
Oikawa felt a small smirk fall on his face as Iwa's looked back and forth between the two of them.
Oh,
then that's okay. I wouldn't blame you, Suga. I've seen his muscles. Oikawa let out a dramatic sigh as Suga followed.
I'm glad you wouldn't blame me, because I've been looking at Iwa all day long.
Iwa let out a small noise as the two of them looked at the quarterback, redder than Oikawa had ever seen. I'm right here, you know. It came out cracked as Suga looked at Iwa again.
Believe us, we know.
Iwa let out another noise, this time sounding exasperated as Oikawa let out a small laugh, earning a glare from the shorter man.
Okay, we'll stop for now.
Oikawa finished putting his character shoes on, standing up while offering his hand to Awaizumi.
You seem to be having trouble with the opening number. Shall we start from the top?
Tracy sent me a video to help me learn it, just in case any girls had a tough time.
She must have predicted you.
Iwa grumbled something under his breath, but still took Oikawa's hand.
I don't see why you're even learning the dance if you don't want to win.
Suga looked up from the CD player to grin at Oikawa.
But Iwa does want to win now. He's defending our honor.
Awaizumi grumbled again as Oikawa rose an eyebrow. There's a girl, Iwa mumbled, rubbing the back of his neck. She was a total bitch to another girl and to me, and said some shifty shit to Suga about him and you. Oikawa felt his face twist as he turned to look back at Suga, who was now very busy with the CD player. So yeah, I want to beat her. I don't actually care if I win, as long as I place above her. Oikawa finally looked back at Iwa, almost jumping back as he took in the intensity of Iwa's eyes. Is this how he looks on the football field? How did the other players not pop boners? Instead of voicing his thoughts, Oikawa gave Iwa another real smile.
Defending our honor. How sweet, Iwa-chan.
Iwa glared at the nickname as Oikawa continued.
Keep it up, and we might never let you go.
Awaizumi's glare turned into more of an embarrassed frown, as Oikawa wondered if him and Suga could quite possibly kill the guy from too much embarrassment.
Are you ready to start?
Awaizumi nodded once, letting out his breath as Oikawa glanced at Suga.
Alright, Suga, if you would.
Suga smiled, making the butterflies come back to life in Oikawa's stomach as he pressed play. Maybe this could be real. Oikawa thought as he looked at the two men in his life he didn't want to disappoint. Maybe, if that's what I really want. Oikawa, focus!
1, 2, 3, 4. Ewa, you're not supposed to go till after the count. This was going to be a long night.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all the support you've given me. I must first and foremost apologise for how long this has taken me. I started recording the audio and then college and Panto swept me off my feet and I couldn't do much in regards to recording. But now I'm on break from college and the next arc, if you will, is going to be a lot less stressful, hopefully. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. All credits go to the original creator of this fanfiction, DarkRain2610 on AO3. I'd highly appreciate it if you gave this video a like and you subscribe to the channel and you hit the notification bell to be notified of when I next upload. There is no pressure to do so though. Thank you for visiting my cozy corner of the internet. Keep growing, my sunflowers. Mwah!